You know, I was sitting back watching First Take the other day, and they were talking about should Riley Cooper, wide receiver off the Philadelphia Eagles, be suspended for his racist remarks. Now, if you guys are not familiar of, what Riley Cooper said, he got into it with a black man, I think it was a security guard or something like that. He got pissed off, he had a couple of, beers or alcohol, whatever. And he called him a nigga. The word came out just like, any other racist white person. When you get that liquor in you, the truth comes out. I remember my grandmother used to always say, a drunk man tells no lies. And a lot of times when you get alcohol in you, things that you wouldn't say under a normal basis, but you feel inside, you'll come out and say, And, I'm a true, firm believer of that. Now, do we have racist white people in the entertainment field or, just working at McDonald's or something like that? Absolutely. But, when it comes to whether he should be suspended, I definitely think he needs to be suspended and probably more. Because, when things like this or things happen, like, for an example, Michael Vick and the whole dogs and everything, people ridicule that brother to the max, To this day, there's people going at him for that incident that he did with those dogs, which he directly was not involved with, but he was involved with it, but he wasn't. And to this day, people going at his head. I think about Isaiah Washington, insulting the gay community, how they went after his career. And, to this day, his career hasn't been the same ever since he made those comments. And, he's been in some things here and there, but it hasn't really been, his career hasn't really been the same since he made those comments. So when we look at incidents that's happened to black athletes or entertainers, we definitely need to take charge of what Riley Cooper has done. And should he be suspended? Yes. Should he have been kicked off of the team? Yes, in my opinion. And going back to the First Take show, they were asking Stephen A. Smith what he felt about it. And he was saying that, he feels like he should be suspended. But at the same time, the black community has to look at us saying the word nigga. And again, they asked, what's the dude name? Skip Bayless, that's his name. And Skip Bayless is, he could be an asshole at times. And then at times he makes points. And his whole opinion on it was, they should have cut him from the team. And you know what? I agree with him. I don't always agree with Skip Bayless, but, I agree with him on it. Because like he said, when they were asking him, this is going to bring animosity on the team. It's going to throw off the team chemistry. And the proper protocol when you're dealing with not only just what Riley Cooper said as a man, but how it affects not only the team, but the NFL organization as a whole, this man needs to be cut. So I agree with Skip Bayless in his comments. But, going back to what Stephen A. Smith said, I think he made some good points too, because like I've said, in several other YouTube, people who do YouTube videos, we have all said, we have to also look at how we deal with that word. We go around and, we call each other nigga, what's up my nigga, or, this nigga over here, blah, blah, blah. We go around and we use that word. And like I've said before, black people determine a lot of slang. We determine what's cool. Everything we do, everybody wants to steal a little bit from it. Whether it's white people, whether it's the Hispanic community, whether it's the Asian community, everybody wants to steal a little piece from it. So when we look at it from that standpoint, we also have to turn the camera and the mirror towards ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that gives the right of a white person throwing around, the word nigga or any other ethnicity saying, well, you're a hip-hop artist, say nigga, so why can't I say it? I don't excuse them one bit, because I think as an adult, you should have common fucking sense to know that you don't go around saying the word nigger or nigga like it's the thing to do. So, I think both of these guys made great points, which is very rare, because, neither Stephen A. Smith will say something stupid every now and then. He usually is on point, though, especially with the sports. But Skip Bayless, he's questionable. But he made a good point. I do think that they should have cut him, because this will bring animosity, and I can remember playing ball from, when I was a kid to, playing varsity football in high school and then going to playing on the college level. And when we have things like, racist people on the team, or, there's just somebody who is an asshole and wants to basically throw off the whole coordination of the team, it does bring animosity. And when you get in that locker room, fights break out. You have people who can't voice how they feel as a man, so what they'll do, they'll go around and try to cause a little animosity, or they're extra rough on the football field, like they trying to take your ass out during practice. I've seen this. So just for the overall greatness as the team, I think that the organization, the Eagles, they should have let him go. Say, hey, you said the word nigga, we're not trying to cause any animosity. You made the NFL look bad as a whole, so you got to get the hell out of here. Because, when things like this happen towards a black man in media, hey, we get taken down to the ultimate limit. We see what happened to Chad Ochocinco, and that was something that happened with him and his wife. That was personal. But we see how the media went after him, and the NFL went after him, and the Miami Dolphins went after him. So the same consequence needs to be done towards Riley Cooper. And like I said, on the flip side, we have to look at each other. Like I said before, I used to be one of those guys that, throw around the word nigga, or, greet my homeboys as, what's up, nigga, or whatever. I don't do that now because I know how detrimental that is. And I know how much of a hypocrite I would be going after white people saying that word, but yet I go around and I greet another black man as a nigga. And it's not even just us looking at how it affects us as black folks in this country. We have to look at it as respect towards one another. Why would you want to call, another black man or, another woman or whatever a nigga? So when you look at it from that point of view, we really have to stop saying it, like I said before. But at the same time, it doesn't give these white people the opportunity or the right to throw around the word nigga. Because like I said before, you say it around me, I'm going to bust you in your ass. So that's all I got to say. You guys give me your feedback on this. White people, don't be scared to comment. You guys can give me your feedback. I'm not going to go at your head. But that's how I feel about it. I'm out, y'all. Peace.